Conor McGregor is one of the richest combat sports athletes on the planet. Between making millions of dollars with his fights in the UFC and nearly $1 billion with his whiskey company and other business ventures, you cannot deny that McGregor is one of the most successful athletes in the world. But what if I told you without this pivotal moment early in his life, Conor McGregor may have never escaped poverty? What was that pivotal moment? We're going to discuss that today here on ChampMind Studios. So let's get after it. All right, guys, welcome back to the channel. My name's Mitch, and this is ChampMind Studios, where we talk about mindset, culture, and habits from some of the most successful people in the world. I'm talking athletes, fighters, business owners, CEOs, you name it. We figure out what makes them great from a psychological perspective, and we apply some of those skills into our own lives, into our own goals, as we look to unleash greatness. Now, before I get into this Conor McGregor story, if you guys can do me a huge favor, hit that subscribe button, give this video a thumbs up, and ring that notification bell, because I've got a lot of content coming your way in 2024 and beyond. Got a lot of big interviews lined up, so you don't want to miss out on what's coming your way from ChampMind Studios this year. Now, Conor McGregor, the notorious. I mean, what can you say about this guy? Other than, listen, I mean, the richest mixed martial artist of all time. I mean, that's not even up for debate. You can love him, you can hate him, but you cannot deny the man's success. And his story is remarkable. I mean, we're talking about a kid that grew up in Ireland, pretty poor, didn't have much money, and was able to go from poverty to now almost a billionaire. I mean, he might be a billionaire now. I don't know what his net worth is, but he's pretty damn close to it. And his story on how he was able to manifest his career is pretty well documented. He talks about how, he and his girlfriend, Dee Devlin, they watched the movie The Secret, which is based off of the book written by Rhonda Byrne that talks about manifestation, talks about this thing called the law of attraction, where what you put out into the universe, what you say out loud, and what you say in your mind, how that tends to come to fruition. And that really resonated with a young Conor McGregor. And he took that, ran with it, and was able to manifest one of the most successful MMA careers ever. That's the story that you hear. That's the story that's been documented, and it's been public, for years. And that's what people talk about when they discuss McGregor's career and his rise to the top, right? But what's not discussed is before all of that, before Conor McGregor went on this tear and became the notorious, right? Before all that, he almost quit. Conor McGregor, 4 fights into his MMA career, he almost quit the sport. And this story that I'm about to share with you, I hope that it resonates with those of you out there that are maybe taking your family and your loved ones for granted. Because listen, nobody became successful by themselves. Nobody. And Conor McGregor is no different. Success is built off of the support of the people in your life that love you, the people in your life that care about you, your family, your friends, your mentors, your coaches, your instructors. That's where success comes from. And obviously, you have a lot to do with it. Obviously. But don't be that selfish to forget everybody that's in your corner, because without them, you wouldn't be where you are today, and you're not going where you're going tomorrow. So I started reading John Kavanagh's book, Win or Learn, which is a fantastic book, by the way. John Kavanagh, of course, is the longtime coach and mentor of Conor McGregor. And in this book, there's a lot of stories that are standing out to me, but the one that really caught my attention, and I knew right after I read it, I knew I needed to make a video talking about it, was Kavanagh discussing the early days of working with this young kid, Conor McGregor, who, he came into the Straight Blast gym in Dublin, Ireland at 16 years old. He was a good friend of a guy named Tom Egan. Tom Egan was, at the time, the #1 fighter out of Ireland, or at least the #1 prospect out of Ireland. He had a lot of high hopes. A lot of people at the time that were, part of the Irish MMA community were dubbing Tom Egan as their first big star. Unfortunately, it didn't pan out that way. That ended up being McGregor, right? And the two of them were friends I think in high school. I think they went to high school together, right? Conor was boxing at the time, so he was helping Egan with his stand-up, and Egan was helping McGregor out with the ground game, and he brought him into the straight blast gym, and obviously McGregor fell in love with MMA, right? And, Conor, he comes in, and he was cocky right out of the gate. I mean, he had that brash persona from day one, right? That self-belief that kind of bordered on arrogance. He had that, especially at a young age. And he was sparring some of the top fighters in the straight blast gym. And now any MMA gym that you go to, any coach will tell you that it's not about hurting your opponent, right? You're there to learn. You're not there to get into a fight. You're not there to knock anybody out. Like, this is a learning experience. And that concept for a young Conor McGregor was lost. And he was going in there and he was knocking out his training partners. And John Kavanagh, he had enough when he heard about McGregor. He was sparring with Ashlyn Daly, who was the only female fighter out of Straight Blast Gym. And he rocked her with a wicked body shot, dropped her to the ground. And John Kavanagh was like, all right, Conor, that's it, you and me. And at this time, John Kavanagh was he was a very experienced professional fighter. He had a couple of fights under his belt, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt. Conor McGregor didn't know anything about the ground game at this time. So Kavanagh went out there, rolled with him, brought him down, beat him up, submitted him pretty easily. And that was Conor McGregor's kind of first humbling moment. But also, I think it was the moment where he realized, like, okay, I need to learn. I have a lot to learn. I have a lot to learn if I want to make it in the sport. Fast forward a little bit, and he starts fighting professionally in MMA. And his first three fights, actually, he won very easily. He won by first round TKO. Not surprising, because even back then, he had thunderous power in his hands and some of the best striking you'd see. Even as a young teenager, he had really, really good boxing. So he was just taking these guys out very easily. But John Kavanagh was trying to get him to learn the ground game, was trying to get him to learn jiu-jitsu. And Conor was so against it. He had no interest in the ground. And John Kavanagh kept pushing him. He's like, listen, man, like, your striking is only going to get you so far. Like, as soon as you fight a grappler, as soon as you fight somebody with some wrestling and some basic knowledge of submissions, you're done. You're done. But Conor McGregor knew better at the time, right? Or so he thought. No, coach, I don't need to learn that ground stuff. I don't need to learn that silly Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu nonsense. All I need is my left hand, coach. That's all I need. So Conor McGregor, for his fourth professional fight, he fought this guy named Artemij Stakhanov. I'm probably totally butchering his name. But he was the first grappler that McGregor fought. And Kavanagh, before the fight, he's like, Conor, listen, we need to work on your grappling. We need to work on your takedown defense. We got to work on the ground game. No, coach. I don't need to do that. All I need is my left hand. I'm going to knock this guy out. Okay. Hey, you know better. You know better, kid, right? So it doesn't take a rocket science to figure out what happened next, right? Conor McGregor got submitted. He got submitted quickly in the first round via leg lock or knee bar. In front of all of his family, in front of all of his friends, he was humiliated. He was absolutely humiliated. He was crushed, embarrassed. And I want to read this next part of the story right out of the book itself, right out of John Kavanagh's words. So let's do that. So bear with me for a second. To be in a bloody brawl and being smashed to pieces, there's probably a small part of them that enjoys that. But to be quickly knocked out or submitted is every young fighter's worst nightmare. And that's exactly what happened to Conor against Artemij Sitnikov. That's a hell of a name, by the way. That wasn't the only problem which arose from that fight. As the promoter of the Cage of Truth events, I used to give the local fighters tickets to sell on to friends and family. They'd pass the proceeds on to me minus a commission. Conor had taken 25 tickets at €20 each, so we're talking €500 worth of tickets. At the end of the night, when the other fighters on the show were handing in the money from their ticket sales, Conor said he didn't have his with him. Hey, sorry, Jen, I forgot to bring it with me. That was the worst attempt at a Conor McGregor accent, by the way. I'll bring it into the gym next week. That wasn't unusual for Conor. He rarely paid fees at the gym, but I was always lenient with him, perhaps in the knowledge that it might ultimately pay off, which obviously it eventually did, right? But the truth was that he didn't have the money. As he sold the tickets in the build-up to the fight, he was spending the proceeds on the premise that he just replace it later on. In the end, he'd spent it all and there wasn't a cent left. That week went by and there was no sign of Conor. A week then became a month. Eventually, I gave up on calling him. Another month or so had passed by the time I finally received a phone call from the McGregor household, but it wasn't Conor on the other end of the line. It was his mother. Although I had been briefly introduced to her at the Sitnikov fight, we had never really had a conversation. When she called and told me who she was, I thought to myself, oh yeah, that little shit who took my money and ran away? What could his mother possibly be calling me for? I was wondering if you could come up and see Conor, she said. He hasn't been training at all lately and he has lost his way a little bit. We're a bit worried about him. To be honest, I didn't really want to know at first. Why would I? Conor was in my debt. I owed him nothing. My gym was by no means thriving financially at that stage, so I wasn't exactly in a position to be nonchalant about 500 euro. Sorry, I said. What did you say your own name is again? Margaret. Ah, that sort of hit me because my own mother's name is also Margaret. A small thing, but it resonated with me. It immediately helped me to see that this was just a concerned mother who was pleading with me to help her son. 15 years earlier, if I had been going through something difficult and my mother had asked somebody to get involved, would I have wanted that person to ignore her? It was clear from speaking to Margaret that something was wrong. She didn't sound good as she told me that Conor was going through a rough patch. I don't think anybody other than you can help him, she said. All right, I'll stop there. And I'll fast forward the rest of the story. Kavanaugh meets with Conor. He sits down with him, has a heart-to-heart with him, brings him back to the gym, and they get to work. 5 years later, Conor McGregor debuts in the UFC. Shortly after that, he knocks Jose Aldo out, becomes featherweight champion. Shortly after that, knocks out Eddie Alvarez, becomes the first ever double champ in UFC history. He becomes the biggest superstar the sport has ever seen and takes the UFC to heights that it had not seen before. But the question is, what if that phone call never happened? What if Margaret McGregor never picked up the phone and never called John Kavanaugh? And listen, there's a chance that maybe McGregor would have gotten back into the sport anyway. You know, he took a few months off to sulk and then got back in there, but maybe he didn't. Maybe without that phone call, maybe he doesn't become the superstar that he became. So why do I want to tell this story? Well, two parts. For one, don't take for granted the people in your life that care about you, that want to see you win. I know Conor McGregor doesn't. I mean, he's talked very openly. He loves his family. He loves his mother, loves his coach. But back then, at that particular time, I don't think he realized, maybe he did, but I don't think he really realized how important they were in his climb, in his career rise. Everybody now, when they talk about, the rise of Conor McGregor, they talk about how he manifested his career, how he followed the law of attraction and spoke everything into existence that he set out to accomplish. And that was true. That's 100% true. Conor McGregor absolutely manifested his career. He did. But I wonder, without the support of his family and his coaches and the loved ones and the people in his life, his girlfriend, Dee Devlin, I wonder if he's able to manifest even a sliver of what he ended up accomplishing in his life. I bet you that he'll tell you that he wouldn't. So I wanted to highlight that. Because, listen, let's talk about the two people involved in this story, right? Let's talk about Conor's mother. I feel like most moms, they want the best for their kids. But at the same time, if they have a kid, son or daughter that is pursuing a dangerous career, and that's exactly what MMA is, I kind of feel like most mothers would be happy to see them stop doing that, I guess, right? So, it would have been easy for Margaret McGregor after that loss that Conor sustained and seeing her son kind of drifting away from the sport. It would have been real easy for her to say, well, thank God, because now he's not going to pursue this really dangerous career. Maybe I can convince him to pursue something else. I don't have to worry about him putting his body at harm's way. But deep down, she knew two things. One, she knew how much the sport meant to her son, how happy it made him. But two, I think she saw what her son was capable of becoming. And that is, man, that's powerful. That is so powerful. I am one of those people in life that is very blessed to have an amazing mother. A mother that believes in me, that wants to see me succeed, wants to see me win, and is always in my corner. And so that reading that story resonated with me, because there are times in my life where maybe I forget that. Maybe we're watching this video right now and you're in the same situation and you forget that. But it's so powerful. And for one, we're extremely grateful and we're lucky to have, be it a mother, a father, both, grandparents, cousins, whoever it is. If you have somebody in your life that is close to you, that believes in you, do not take it for granted. So Margaret McGregor played a huge role in Conor McGregor's success, not just because she gave birth to him, but because she believed in him. John Kavanaugh, let's talk about John Kavanaugh. He could have easily hung up the phone, right? Or at least he could have said, hey, listen, sorry, ma'am, but your son stole money from me, or your son owes me a lot of money. I can't help him. I'm not interested. Would have been real easy for him to say that. And yeah, did he see potential in Conor McGregor? I'm sure he did. This is a kid that had ridiculous knockout power and precision striking at just 18 years old. He was one of the best boxers in the country. How could you not see the potential in him? But at the same time, I mean, listen, the guy was very cocky. He felt like he knew better than everybody. He was reckless in the gym. He was hurting his training partners. And he owed the head coach a lot of money. So why would he help him? But it's like he said, he, especially the fact that she had the same name as his own mom, it resonated with him. This woman is just trying to help her son out. And he put himself in the situation of, what if it was him? What if it was his own mother reaching out to somebody to try to help him? How would he respond to that? Talk about a great mentor, right? Another reason why I wanted to highlight this story is, listen, when we discuss successful people, we often tend to focus just on the big moments, right? Maybe we backtrack a little bit and we discuss some hardships and some, early struggles, but the focus is on the big moments. It's on the wins, right? But you have to remember that these are human beings too. And every human being goes through these trials and these tribulations. Even a guy like McGregor, even a young kid like Conor McGregor, who always believed in himself and had relentless confidence even as a teenager. I mean, that was one of the reasons why he was able to, quote unquote, manifest everything he manifested, right? But even somebody like that will go through periods of time in their life where they don't believe in themselves, where the negative voices in their mind start outweighing the positive. And sometimes you can control that on your own. Sometimes you can, through meditation, through some serious self-reflection, you can drown out those negative voices, right? But sometimes you need some help, and sometimes you need somebody to pull you out of the darkness. And that's exactly what Conor McGregor's mother and his coach did for him, and it led to him becoming the absolute monster, the absolute superstar that we know today. So guys, I hope you liked this video. If you did, be sure to hit that subscribe button, give this video a thumbs up, and ring that notification bell, because you do not want to miss what's coming your way from ChampMind Studios. I have a lot of big things on the horizon. Listen, I told you guys yesterday, I am obsessed with becoming the #1 platform to inspire millions of people on YouTube. And I'm going to manifest that. Just like how Conor McGregor manifested his career, I am going to call my shot. I'm going to manifest this community that we're building. And if you want to be part of this community now and start early, get on that train, because eventually you're going to wish you started now. You're going to be like, yo, I saw this dude on YouTube a couple months ago when he had only 64 subscribers and he's blowing up. I wish I would have hopped on that train earlier. Hop on now, folks, because we are here to change the world. Let's unleash greatness. Boom!